Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is Transfers Live, where we'll bring you all the latest transfer news about Manchester United. Joining me, I was going to say as always, but not as always.
No, not as always.
It was Joe Smith last night, wasn't it? But like last week, joining me is Alex Baggers. Baggers, how are we doing?
Not bad. A little bit sore, been running about a bit, so it's getting too old.
Doing?
Playing football for that other guy, you know, comes in now and again.
Let's not go there. Let's not talk about Paddock FC, as I might just lose mine. And apologies, we are a little bit late, but we're not as late as Manchester United have been. We're trying to get Jadon Sancho.
Straight in there.
Seamless
there.
As you may have guessed from our title, Rio Ferdinand has been speaking on 5 YouTube channel. He's been talking about the frustrations that he feels with Jadon Sancho and Manchester United and the sort of the time it's taking for Manchester United to get that deal done. As you can see from the graphic on the screen, says Sancho was talked about months ago, still not done. It's so frustrating. I'm not saying deals are easy to be done, but Chelsea is showing deals can be done if you put the money down and it's done in the right way. Rio pretty much echoing what most Manchester United fans thinking, what Man United fans who are watching our channel have been saying, what we've been saying ourselves. We want to see Jadon Sancho come to United. We want to see the deal done. It is dragging on, and we're going to get onto it a little bit later in terms of what other reporters and what Tier 1 journalists and other journalists are saying about the deal. But, I mean, audio out bad, I keep hearing. Audio lag.
Lagging, is it a bit, Callum?
Yeah, I'm looking into it.
Sorry, there's a little bit of an audio issue.
A little bit of an audio issue.
We will get that resolved as soon as we can. Yeah. Rio's echoing what everyone else is saying.
It's good. It is good to see ex-players kind of coming out and saying that, because we've had a bit of
all good now.
All good.
Resolved.
Fantastic. What a guy.
Do you know what? Producer Cal working his magic.
Yeah. Imagine if that was producer Cam, it had all gone wrong. But anyway, Rio Ferdinand saying stuff that I think, like you said, we've all been thinking, we all wanted to be saying, and it's good to see the ex-players come out and say it, because in the past there has been a couple of ex-players that have hidden behind stuff, not quite come out and said United aren't good enough at signing players. They kind of say, well, they've signed players, you know, they've got this and this should be better. But Rio's saying, you know, exactly what we're saying. You're seeing Chelsea spend a lot of money on transfers.
Yeah.
You can always blame COVID, and I think there is definitely something there. I definitely think there's a lot of clubs going, do you know what? We can't just spend 100 million on the player because we don't know what's going to happen next season. We don't know whether the TV rights, we don't know when we get fans back in stadiums. But if Chelsea can afford to do it, then so does the rest of the league. You know, even City have spent, I think they've spent 60 million already this year. Even the teams getting promoted, you know, I think Leeds have spent 60 million.
Yeah.
Everton have spent 60 million.
Yeah.
We should be at least competing. We're not even competing with them yet. We've only got one player in. It's not good enough.
You mean, you spoke about ex-players and some of the ones that speak out, and the fact that Rio does, he talks like a fan, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Rio. I mean, do you think that can have any bearing? Do you think if you get ex-players and people like that who are in the media talking about the lack of transfers and it's not happening, or the fact that these deals are dragging on, do you think that has any bearing? Do you think the club go, look at it and get, you know, they're getting this media attention, you've got players speaking out, the fans on social media aren't happy. Do you think it has any bearing, or do you think it doesn't matter because the club are sort of setting the ways in how they're going to do things and that doesn't change?
I think it does a bit. I think that we've kind of gone back to it a couple of times, but like that All or Nothing documentary with Tottenham's been on. Yeah. And you see all the time that the players are sat there doing a lot of what fans do, and the board are doing it and the managers are doing it, whether they're sat having the dinner or they're sat in a meeting or Mourinho's sat in his office and they've got the news on, they've got sports, they've got Sky Sports News on, they've got BT Sport. So they know what's going on and they know that things impact them and can irk them and things like that. And I do think things like that can push them into going, do you know what, we do need to act into doing it. And I think that, you know, the ex-players is a big thing, because it's one thing social media stuff being it, but if the ex-players could come out and say, look, United needs to be signing players, I think that they will, hopefully will act upon it.
Guys, get involved in the comments. Don't forget to hit like as well. Let us know what you think about Jadon Sancho, where you think he's going to come, how you're feeling about it. Rio Ferdinand said it's so frustrating. We're getting frustrated with it, and it is, you know, it's one of those sort of deals that just keeps rumbling on and on and on. We speak about it most nights because it's still happening.
Yep.
The deal's not dead. If it was dead, we'd come on here and we'd say it's not happening. We know that certain deals that we were looking at aren't happening anymore because those players have basically gone elsewhere, haven't they? Or we've just been told by everyone that they've signed a new deal and they're not moving. Yeah. We'll get to some of the players we've missed out on that have gone elsewhere a little bit later on. But just on the sort of the Jadon Sancho front, I just want to go into a couple more bits and pieces about it. Obviously, Rio there saying he's frustrated. Now, there was a report earlier on as well. I'm going to get this completely wrong because, you know, pronunciation isn't my strong point. From Nur Raktikin.
I think he's done well there.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name, but I think he's done well.
You've done well there, possibly. It says no specific statement from Sancho to Dortmund about wanting an England return this summer. In other words, he hasn't asked to leave. You can see the graphic on the screen. And it's thought he's accepted Dortmund's stance of not selling after the August 10th, €120 million deadline. For those who don't know, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Dortmund put this deadline on August the 10th.
Yep.
If it's not done by then, it's not going to happen. Needless to say, that deadline has been and gone, and United didn't pay 120 million, hence the reason that we haven't got Jadon Sancho. Now, a lot of the thinking is that the deal's not dead, and that Dortmund, that was a bit of arbitrary deadline they set that they weren't that bothered about, or it wasn't a deal breaker. But there's other stories coming out that perhaps it was, that Dortmund are saying no, and that Jadon Sancho's had that sort of comment from Dortmund, and he's living with it. I mean, do you put much weight into these stories that Dortmund, we've had it on this channel before where German journalists have told us Dortmund weren't impressed with the fact that United missed the deadline, and actually they're pretty keen to keep Jadon Sancho now. They think that's it, and you're going to have to go again in the summer? Or do you think that that's actually changed, and that if United just came in, no matter how late that is, and gave €120 million to Dortmund, it's done deal?
I think there's definitely something to it, because I think one of the problems with all this and doing this last minute is Dortmund might be going, look, we have to buy someone else. If you take one of our best players, if not our best player off us, we have to buy players, and that's why they put the deadline in, so that if this business does want to get done, and that they have the time to go out and sign players now. We know Depay was one of the ones that was linked to go to Dortmund, and that kind of looked as maybe as a replacement. He looks to be going to Barcelona now, so it makes things harder for Dortmund. I still think that it's a case of if United put the money up, because I think that fee of whatever it is, the €120 million, is just too much for them to turn down at any point in the window, whether it be the last day, the first day. I think it's just a case of if United cough up the money, I think they'll still do it.
You're watching on Facebook. We've got a poll on Facebook, Cal.
Yeah.
We've got a poll on Facebook, just a simple one. Do you think we're going to sign Jadon Sancho this summer? Lots of people getting involved in the comments. Guys, don't forget to hit like as well. Ross Murphy's asking, Pereira training still with us. How is he still here? Did you see that fake picture doing the rounds? Someone put it, I think, in
I'm
that.
not seeing it.
There was a fake picture of, it was Andreas Pereira and Ole. It's probably when he signed his last contract, but someone had pretended to be Romano or someone, and done a fake sort of Twitter thing, and he's just signed a 5-year deal or an extension, and then a few people on Twitter were losing their minds, and then you realise it's actually fake. We have got players that are surplus to requirements. We've got players like Pereira that are probably going to end up leaving, but at the moment are still here. For me though, the main issue at the minute isn't the players we've got that we've got to get rid of, it's getting the likes of Sancho in. Sean Williams says Sancho is coming. Actually, I won't read the rest of that out because I didn't realise.
Nope,
Still got to the end there. He said I'm not allowed to use.
No.
See, Gareth Bale is booked in to play golf with Daniel Levy at 2 p.m. tomorrow, says Juho99. We just got sent that, didn't we?
Yeah.
You always see golf.
He loves around the
I
golf,
don't know
doesn't
why
he, Gareth?
that's relevant, you're into golf, but yeah.
He loves around the golf, and I think it's mad that if that is the case, that someone's not...
Is that real? He's booked in already to play golf with Daniel Levy? Or is that
he might have done, but who would... I'm sorry, but if you go into whatever club it is, you wouldn't use... Let's put Gareth Bale there, the lad that we're going to sign for this much money, next to Daniel Levy, and expecting not to get someone in the club group chat saying, "Have you seen who's behind us tomorrow?"
Mate,
I didn't not to get onto Twitter.
you never know. I mean, it'd be absolute scenes if he was playing golf tomorrow and everyone would be laughing their head off. But it'd be one of those. Do you remember when Tevez went on holiday and he when he came back, he didn't go on holiday, he went on strike, didn't he? His golfing celebration. Yeah. I think some people might think it's taking a minute, but I don't think Tottenham fans would care as long as he was a Tottenham player. Obviously, United would briefly link with him. I don't know how real that interest was.
It is a bit. It is a bit weird how the Bale to Tottenham gets reported in the media, whereas Bale to United got reported. Like if Bale to United was, oh my God, they're going to spend 400 grand a week on a guy who's played 4 games last season, got no legs left, gone, he's going to do nothing. Bale to Tottenham, it's the return of the prodigal son. They're going to win the league. They've got Mourinho. Mourinho's wanted him for years. It's the best player, best signing of all time.
It's a nice story in it though, and it's an easy win for Spurs in many ways. Not in all ways. There's one thing that I'll get to later is the fact that Mourinho can say these things. I always wanted him. I missed out on him because I know he went to Madrid, but no, Mourinho was there. It's the return of him, like we had with Pogba. I always wanted to come back to Spurs.
Yeah.
Did he really?
No.
If United had paid the money, would he have said no and I'm desperate to go back to Spurs. I'm not so sure. But it makes a nice sort of story. We had it with Pogba when he came back from Juve. And it was all like, I never wanted to leave. And you think, well, you didn't want to leave. I don't mind it, like, because I understand it.
You did, though.
But you wanted to leave. That's why you left. Do you know what I mean? No one wants to leave United when Sir Alex Ferguson's manager and come back when he's left. Really. That's not like when we're struggling. Winning titles and Champions League finals under Fergie, and you come back and we're finishing 6th, and that's when you want to come back to us. Yeah. It sounded a bit iffy. But I get the story, I get the narrative. It sounds all very sort of uplifting, and it works. Guys, don't forget to hit like as well. Get involved in the comments. Get involved in the poll if you're on Facebook. Do you think we'll sign Jadon Sancho? Conflicting reports about Jadon Sancho. As always, like it says in our title, Rio Ferdinand venting his frustrations. Because no matter what you say about Rio Ferdinand, he does speak like a United fan. You listen to him. You see him on BT going mad when United score. He's, obviously spent over 10 years at the club. He's a massive sort of part of our history and one of the best ever defenders we've seen. And also, he speaks like a fan, and he is a United fan. And he's sort of talking about how it's dragged on. And one thing he mentioned, which me and you spoke about last time we were on, was the fact that Chelsea have done all these deals. And even now as we speak, I think they're linked with, is it Mendy, the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
We know they've got Ziyech, Havertz, Chilwell, Werner, Thiago, Silva. I mean,
it's a lot of players, isn't it?
It's a lot. Yes, it might take them time to gel, and you can have question marks about the manager. But like Rio's saying there, Frank Lampard's been backed, and he's been backed quickly and fully to the fact of, right, we're going to go here. And yet United, you're seeing this dragging on. I mean, does that add to your frustrations when you see what Chelsea got?
Absolutely. I think that this whole period, one of the frustrations has been is that how the rivals it's kind of strengthened from there. The way that Liverpool have kind of progressed it's horrible to see that they've stuck by a manager and kind of done this for over a long period of time, and that's working out without doing anything really that crazy, without going the way that we did, which was let's spend 170 million in the summer, let's sign the Pogbas and things like that, which throwing a lot of money at it. They've kind of built the way up, then they spent a little bit more money, signed the 2 players, and then got themselves to there. And that's what frustrates. And then you see Chelsea, who kind of this rivalry kind of rekindled last year, because you had Ollie, young manager, come in, ex-player, same as Lampard, and then you had both trying to promote youth players, playing youth players more because one had a transfer ban and one actually wants to do that.
Yeah.
But that kind of rivalry kind of got there. You kind of saw, especially finish on level points last season, kind of went, do you know what, let's see where we go with that. Can we get ahead of Chelsea? And they've just gone, well, do you know what, let's up it from last year. Let's get closer to them and let's spend the money. And they've done that. And we've, at the moment, just stood still, really. One
thing you were talking about, me and you just thought about now, we're talking about, I think it's Rob Dawson, did an article where he was saying that if you look at what United spend after we get into the Champions League, it's like 80 million average. And when we don't, it's like 160 million average. So the idea, under the Glazers, the idea is that, when it's time to back the manager, when you're getting into the Champions League and you think if we invest and we go that little bit further, we can challenge. We don't, and we only sort of spend the money when it's like we need to get back into the Champions League, because obviously getting back into the Champions League gives you that extra income and whatnot. The prime example was 2018 when we finished second, but a distant second to City. They go out, they spend 60 million quid on Riyad Mahrez, break their transfer record. We buy Fred, who Jose didn't really like, Lee Grant and Diogo Dalot. Not really the type of investment that's going to get you to catch in a team that finished 19 points ahead of you when they've just spent 60 million quid. And also Liverpool were investing heavily that summer after just making the Champions League. They went out, they bought Naby Keita, they bought Alisson, they bought someone else whose name escapes me. I think they bought someone else anyway.
Well, they bought Van Dijk that January.
January
they bought Van Dijk.
They bought Van Dijk. So they'd already strengthened during the season. Then when they added Alisson, which was like the one thing they needed was a keeper, and they went out and bought, made him, I think, one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive goalkeepers in history. And we didn't do anything really. No disrespect to Fred, but if you're buying a midfielder, which we overpaid on a little bit, and being brutally honest, Jose obviously didn't fancy him. Then you've got
chaos.
Yeah, you've got a third choice keeper, which doesn't count. Because let's face it, doesn't.
It's one of them. You need to have, the reason they have the English third choice keeper is it fits the boxes of you have to have a certain amount of people in your squad for Champions League that are English and things like that. So if you get someone who's going to sit there on the bench and sit there in the squad, it's an easy tick of the box. That's why City have Scott Carson, who's never going to play for Manchester City.
It's like seeing Spurs have got Joe Hart, haven't they?
That's why. It's because of it's ticking the boxes. So like you said, it doesn't count as a transfer. And it's frustrating to see that we aren't pushing on, and this is kind of the mindset of, is this the mindset of the ownership that If you get in Champions League, that's it, fine. I think we mentioned as well, the other thing that's happened at that time as well is that they've seemingly backed the manager that's come in. So Mourinho got backed his first season, made three or four really good signings. Van Gaal the same, you know, a lot of investment into that squad. And then the summer after, they kind of go...
Sometimes you get almost...
No.
It's like, it's almost staggered. You get 2 summers maybe.
Yeah.
Like Jose got Pogba, Zlatan.
He got Mkhitaryan and Lindelof.
And then, and then...
He got Lukaku, Matic and Bailly.
Yeah.
Which again was a good summer, but at the same time, those 3 were almost replacing, you know, Zlatan was gone by that point. So that was Lukaku came in, we didn't improve.
Lindelof the other way around, but I might be wrong.
But yeah, I think it was the other way around. And
but
then Matic as well, we lost Carrick. We lost Carrick and Rooney after Mourinho's first season. So it almost felt like we didn't, the squad itself didn't improve because we lost a couple of players, big wages. You know, as much as Wayne Rooney and Carrick were right to retire and end the career at Manchester United, they were big wages and we didn't really invest in the squad. We didn't improve, didn't spend more than we were last year, the season before. And
there was a real optimism there when we won the Europa, back in the Champions League, won the League Cup as well, which, you know, it's not the best trophy, but it is a trophy. So you win a couple of bits of silverware, you're in the Champions League, you have that sort of good feeling at the end of the season, the last game of the season, you're completing the set. I was there in Stockholm, it was amazing. Yeah. You think, right, we're going to go again this summer. Yeah, you see Lukaku coming in the Man U match, you think, all right, yeah. But like you say, you're not quite...
Didn't really improve that squad.
Kicking on. Tom Greenwell in the comments says, got to remember that most Chelsea signings, Havertz aside, have been at good market rate. Signings at 40 to 50 million, quicker to get done, like Van der Beek. Absolutely nobody keen to be paying 100 million. Plus, do you think that is the issue, the size of this transfer? I know it's the issue in terms of getting paid, but do you think we need to temper our expectations a little bit because this is £110 million or 120 million euros, however you want to put it, signing?
I do agree that, you know, the Jadon Sancho thing obviously isn't going to be as easy as what, you know, Chelsea have done. But at the same time, there's players there. We could have got Werner. Werner would have improved our squad. Ziyech would have come in and improved our squad.
Yeah.
You know, and then even Thiago Silva. Does he come in and it's not the same kind of player, but, you know, there's questions now on centre-halves. Could he have come in and done the job as well? Chilwell as well, 40, 50 million. I don't think he's 10 times better than Luke Shaw, but I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
You could have signed him. You know, we're talking now about us missing out on Reguilon if you got Chilwell. So the argument that those signings were better market value, which I agree, they've got, you know, the Werner for, I think it was under 30 million, I think they got Werner, or 40, very low fee to get Werner in. But United could have been, all those 3 players we should have been at least competing with, because like we've seen with the Reguilon thing, it can go so far down the line and then something not quite work out, and then you can nip in and get them, but no, it's not good enough really.
Just going on Facebook here. Are we not? No, we're not. Sorry,
I've seen that. Paul Cruz, Dortmund need the money. Sancho will be signed.
Well, yeah, someone's hopeful there, and someone's saying that Dortmund need the money. I get where you're coming from, in a way, because Dortmund are historically a selling club. I mean, we've had Mkhitaryan and Kagawa off them. We know they've sold the likes. Over the years, they've sold everyone who Bayern Munich have ever wanted. They've more or less just picked that team apart. Aubameyang as well, obviously went to Arsenal, I think. They've had others as well, you know, throughout the years. But they're not a club that... They're almost similar to Leicester in the sense that you can buy anyone from Leicester, but you're going to pay the price.
Yeah, and that's...
Like, you know, like you just mentioned Chilwell there. As soon as Chelsea decided they want Chilwell, you know he's going to end up going to Chelsea. Yeah. But you're not going to get him for pennies.
No.
Because you've got a club that's well run. You've got owners that care about it at Leicester, using them as an example. So they don't desperately need to sell players, but they're at points where, you know, no respect, they're not the biggest club and they understand that that's their sort of MO. Yep. We did it with Maguire, we paid 80 million plus 5 million add-ons for him. Yes, we got him, but we had to pay a lot. When Chelsea went in for Kante, they had to pay a lot. When City went in for Mahrez, they had to pay a lot. And I think Dortmund, historically, you probably paid a little bit less, but now they're getting to the point where they're not quite as desperate to sell players as they were. And in Sancho, they've got an asset that is worth what they're asking for. And
I think, he signed a contract not too long ago, so it's not like it's going into a last year and they have to get rid of him. And I think Sancho as well, he's kind of playing his cards where he's kind of saying, do you know what, if I stay here, I'm going to play in a very good team, play Champions League football, potentially compete for a title here. I'm not too unhappy. If I have to leave, if I get to leave, great. I think he enjoys it over here better than that. But at the same time, like I said, they don't really need the money. I think they've done a lot of good stuff. They're still going to keep getting the money in. So they're pretty much guaranteed Champions League football every year. So they're going to get that kind of money in. They're not in the same position as Man United are, where they look like they're going to drop out of that title race. They're always going to be the second or third best team, and at least pushing Bayern Munich.
We see it with some of the journalists we've spoken to about the sort of situation in Germany as well, because there's so many sort of shots that are fired at times.
Yeah.
We had Uli Hoeneß, the former Bayern Munich chief, who's throwing shade at Dortmund, saying, "Oh, don't understand why they get these great players and they just sell them." Which you do understand it, because you bought a lot of them. And then the fact that Bayern Munich obviously won the treble, won the Champions League, it's 8 titles on the spin. It's not nice. It's not easy to stomach. Yeah. And when you're Dortmund and you're looking at it, you're thinking, all right, we've got this world-class star, and it looks like he's going to go. Then you are going to want the right money for him. And also, there's that argument you just made. He has signed another deal. Can they afford to keep him for one more season and say, all right, Dortmund, Bayern Munich have just won the treble, won the Champions League. We're keeping Jadon Sancho. We're going to go for it. And then next summer, if he wants to go, he can go with Manchester United. Put up the money, they can have him. Guys, get involved in the comments. Don't forget to hit like as well. Keep hitting that like button. Let us know what you think about Jadon Sancho. Is it going to happen? If you're watching on Facebook, there's a poll going. Do you think Jadon Sancho will end up at Manchester United this summer?
There's a comment there from Adam Smith saying, players don't think they need to come here anymore. Other clubs have caught us up and overtaken us home and abroad. We've lost our edge and players would rather go elsewhere. I don't think that's the case. I don't think there's not been too many occasions where it looks like we've missed out, where we've offered the same kind of thing. I think, the Reguilón thing now, that everyone's kind of using that as the example. I think that what's happened there is that Spurs have kind of crumbled on the thing that we didn't want to do. And there's a little bit where I respect United for doing that. Now, if we'd have signed 2 or 3 players and then we miss out on this, I don't think anyone would be that frustrated with this kind of transfer. But the fact that we've only got 1 in, I think that's where the problem's been. But I think most of the time, I think it's just a case of we haven't matched what they want to do. I think that people mentioned the Haaland one, but I think that's a Raiola one. He knows that there's no point in going to Manchester United for 20 million when in 18 months' time he's going to be worth 100 million plus.
Yeah.
And then you bring in the Madrids, United and things like that.
Of course you do.
They'll then do what we're doing for Jadon Sancho now. They're going to put the money up, and then agent gets the money, the player gets more money and all that kind of stuff. If they come to United this summer, you kind of, or last in January, no way they're making that kind of money. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's a case of we are missing out on a head-to-head thing. I just think we're doing things in the wrong way. We're not getting things done early enough, and we're not just making our intentions clear that, look, we want this player, let's get it done. That's the problem. I
agree. People mentioning in the comments saying about what about Ismail Assar and the update. We're going to get to that in a little bit. There's links with both Manchester United and Liverpool apparently in for him, but we'll get to a little bit later on about Ismail Assar, player that I absolutely love. I think he's a great player. Although if he signs for the Scousers, we're going to delete this video and forget I ever said that. Over on Facebook, the poll: do you think United will sign Jadon Sancho this window? Yes has 32%, and obviously no has 56%.
68%.
68%. So confidence is waning. But don't despair, because
Romano is there.
No, well, yes. Don't despair, Romano. Nicely done.
Yeah,
Fabrizio Romano, talking on his Save the Ball podcast, he said, despite Borussia Dortmund's public stance, you can probably see that on the screen, they will still sell Jadon Sancho this summer if they receive 120 million euros. So, tier 1 of the tier 1s, Fabrizio Romano, Mr. Here We Go. We've had him on the channel. We'll get him back on as well pretty soon. He's saying that it's not done. If United pay the money, we'll get him. Do you think that's the case?
I don't know, because
very honest.
I don't know.
No one knows.
Don't know, because the 120 million is the bigger fee. We've seen this now with Wan-Bissaka, with Maguire, with Bruno, where we drag our heels with this kind of stuff and we leave it until it gets to the point where you have to put the money up and we've got no other option. But this one I don't know whether this one feels a little bit different, because it is so much money, and it is, the Maguire ones seemed like it was 10 million euro there, which in the grand scheme of things for an 80 million pound player isn't that much, and I think United have just gone, boom, there you go. Same thing with Bruno. Whereas this one, it sounds like they're they're arguing how to spend this 40 million to kind of put this up, aren't they? They're kind of saying, you know, we want it in add-ons, we want it in Dortmund will take it in instalments, but that's a lot of money to be arguing over. It's not a case of 10, 15 million here or there. It's 40 million, I think they're arguing over whether, you know, United play it, if he wins the Ballon d'Or, we win the Champions League and all this kind of stuff.
You mentioned earlier about the Reguilon stuff and the fact that, you know, United probably did the right thing in terms of a buyback clause, and, you know, this is still the mentality. We are Manchester United and we're not going to get, you know, bullied off Real Madrid. Do you think the mentality comes in sometimes where it's like, well, we're United and, I don't know, you know, we can get any player we want, but we don't have to pay, you know, there has to be some sort of limit to what we pay in terms of, when, you know, they're asking for 110 million or 120 million euros. If we just give them that, that's just, again, getting our pants pulled down almost, or it looks bad, so let's try and get a little bit less, which it sort of saves face a little bit, especially after you mentioned Crystal Palace wanted 50 million, they got it. Harry Maguire wanted, Leicester wanted 80 million for Harry Maguire plus 5 million add-ons, they got that. Do you think maybe United's mentality shifted a little bit where they're trying to say, all right, hang on? Or do you think it's just a case of just
I don't know. I'd kind of,
as usual?
Yeah, I think I'd kind of sit back and respect that if that was the case. But the problem is that means you have to be a lot more patient with how the team's building, and that means you have to be more patient with the manager. And I don't know. I think if after the last 7 years, I think everyone's kind of run out of patience, and I think that you've seen with Van Gaal and Mourinho where they haven't trusted the manager past 2 or 3 seasons. So everything points to they're not going to back the manager here. It's going to get to Christmas time, and if things aren't going well, we lose another manager and we start this whole thing over again, and that's the worry with it all. If you kind of, you know, Liverpool, we always kind of reference them because, you know, they've seemed to have done this in quite a good way, you know, where they've been patient with it. But if you kind of felt that, you know what, even if we have a bit of a rough season this year, even if we don't make Champions League, we're building a team, and then next summer we'll build on it again, and the summer after that we'll build on it again. But it doesn't seem like that. It seems like that if things don't happen this season, bang, that'll be it. I think we had our transition season last year where everyone kind of went, do you know what, if we get top 4, great. Not too worried otherwise. Maybe win a trophy, great. I think this season, I think that the fans are going to get to a point. I think the board will get to a point, and I just see that if they don't back him now, if we don't get Sancho in, if we don't get a couple more players in, it's going to be starting all over again. It
does feel a little bit like that even. Guys, get involved in the comments. Don't forget to hit like as well. And do subscribe. If you're not subscribing to the channel, do hit that subscribe button as well. Lots of people commenting. Ross Murphy, good to see you again, Ross. He's always chatting in the chat. I want to know who is the one negotiating or selling players, because many are still here. We always have this argument. Who's doing all the negotiating? Who's doing the selling? Do we need a director of football? I mean, yes, I think we do need a director of football. And, you know, we've had all these issues when it comes to getting transfers done. And you think that maybe there's a director of football that would smooth things over. We saw that the Van der Beek deal seemed to get done quickly due to the fact that Edwin van der Sar from the Ajax side and Ole from the United side got together, and the player wanted to come as well, which helps.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is what we want. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, let's get it done.
This is, you know, there's no ifs or buts here. If you want him, this is what you're paying. United, like, that's all right. That's a reasonable deal.
Yeah.
So we got him. So, you know, maybe we do have an issue with who's doing it, but I think when we're talking about Jadon Sancho on this particular issue, it's just about the money, isn't it? Yeah,
it's just about United arguing over that. I don't think there's not another club interested. There's not Dortmund saying, oh, maybe. You know, it's just, pays the money, you can have him. If you don't, we'll keep him. Sound. See you next summer. That's where Dortmund are at. There is no argument about it, and I don't know what United are expecting to happen if they leave it another week. Are they going to go, oh no, yeah, maybe we should just take £30 million less. That'll do it. You know, that'll do it. I'd almost respect United more for just coming out and saying, do you know what, we're not having him. See you later. Let's move on to someone else. Let's not even have this link whatsoever now. If that was the case, you kind of go, do you know what? Yeah, they've put the stance out and said, it's too much money, they're demanding too much, we'll move on, let's get someone else. But they're not. Seems like they're still following up, going, you sure you won't take that 80, that lower fee? And they're going, no. I was like, all right, we'll try again next week.
You see Stephen McCall doing that thing on their channel, that made me laugh. It was like, yeah, not happening.
No, it's just not happening. It's strange.
Lee Redgrift, he's saying there's too much deadwood at the club. There are players that need to be moved on, and yeah, I mean, you're more or less right in what you're saying, but I don't think it's that massively an issue. I think it is something that needs to be addressed, and I think you look at and you think, you know, you can argue that Delo's surplus to requirements. Lingard probably pains me to say because I'm a big fan of Jesse, but I think it's probably time for him to move on. Pereira, I know Jones, obviously Smalling. There's I think that you probably way up Rojo. There's probably about 5 or 6, but I think again, you know, okay, you need to move these players on, but the big thing is just getting players in at the minute. And I don't think they're all connected. No. I know, you know, you get players in, you get rid of players, you get money, you can bring them in, but you know, we should have had a better strategy than that this summer.
Going back to what McCall and House was saying, you know, we've offered these players are on too good of contracts now.
That's a problem.
Know, and well, even I think, you know, Pereira seems like the one that should be easy to shift on because I don't think he got that big bumper contract. He should be able to potentially move on to a lesser club and they should be able to match those wages. But you know, players like Smalling, Jones, you mentioned Lingard there, even players like Juan Mata, who again you love, but maybe it is time for them kind of players to move on.
I forgot about Juan Mata. To be honest, I'd probably stick him around.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too upset if he stuck around. But do you know what, the wages are too high, and at the same time, because they haven't been playing, because they haven't been doing so well, there's not a list of clubs going, yeah, we'll pay the transfer fee to get them, and then they go, 100 grand a week.
He's funny because you look at Bruno. Bruno came in, didn't he? And he's been amazing. But isn't he on like, I don't know,
like
about
50 to it's like 70 grand a week.
70 grand a week, which is obviously a lot of money. But then you look at it and you're thinking he's on that, and then someone like Phil Jones reportedly on like 120k. I know Phil Jones has been on a club a lot longer, but it does think when you do think like the similar ages as well. Like there's about 2-year difference. Show what entertainment says. I'm not sure what's more the issue: United's lack of activity in the transfer window, or the media's ability to link a new player with United every week, setting fans up for disappointment either way. Which nicely brings me on to another player we've been linked with, and a player that I've been banging on about for literally about...
Thanks for the super chat, Ross Murphy. He's said, sell Phil Jones to a bricklaying company down the road. He'll fit right in their system. They also pull faces like him when the drains stink.
Harsh, man. Harsh on Phil Jones, Ross. Not the best player, but, you know... I always felt a bit sorry for Jones when he said he didn't have his testimonial because he knew no one would say that.
That kind of felt bad. I still think he got a bit unlucky with injuries, got a bit unlucky with the timing of it all. And
I sort of rallied to him as well when he was getting all that grief. Was it on Twitter? Someone said
it was Twitter.
Was it Twitter?
Twitter themselves promoted all the anti-bullying stuff, but do you know what? Let's take the piss out of Phil Jones. There you go.
Like, name me a better player than Phil Jones or something, wasn't it? Like,
and then turn the comment. Anyone that can comment on this.
Let's not forget Phil Jones. You know what I mean? He still won a Premier League. He's won a
Premier
trophy
League.
In Europe. You know, how many players can say that, or
went
teams
to the World
can say
Cup
that about
not long ago.
Yeah, exactly. World Cup semi-final. He was in the squad for that. Talking about players we have been linked with. Miguel Delaney from the Independent, who blocked me on Twitter for no good reason. Just leaving him aside, but I'm not bitter. I'm still going to read out his nonsense. I mean his story. He says that Manchester United are looking at Watford's Ismaila Sarr as they investigate options beyond Borussia Dortmund's Jadon Sancho.
I reckon he's still looking at your tweets on a different account because you've been going on about Sarr for ages now.
I have. We were linked with him a few weeks ago. Yeah. And I really like Ismaila Sarr. Now, it's worth noting before people point out, which is true, Liverpool have also been linked with him. There's sort of stories going that United are linked with him, Liverpool linked with him, similar to Thiago. We know how that one ended. But listen, the thing with Sarr, and I've said this a million times, is that he sort of ticks a lot of boxes in the sense that he's very talented, he's young, he won't cost the earth. I think it's around 35 million quid is being quoted for him. And also, if he comes in, because we can't get Jadon Sancho, I don't think that closes the door on Jadon Sancho next season, because you can still have, Sarr could come in, and yes, you know, we can fit on that right side, do really well. You can still get Sancho the season after and have 5 players vying for the 3 positions at the front.
I think we mentioned there about the deadwood and the wages and stuff like that. That's probably the big point about bringing Sarr in, is he wouldn't come in and demand a 6-figure wage per week. So you're looking at, you can still potentially afford another player to go on that side. You can still, you're not, if you brought in someone, I mean, we've obviously talked about Gareth Bale, but if you'd have signed him permanently on a 300 grand a week contract or whatever it would have been, you can't exactly bring in another player on that level. So someone like Ismail Assar, I think could be a great option. Just only got relegated last year.
I think his record was 5 goals, 2 of which came against Liverpool. Should have had an hat-trick that night. I watched that game. 4 assists, so not amazing stats if we're being brutally honest, but good ones, decent ones. I think you can see there's a player there, and when I've seen him, I've been impressed. And also, like we say, we wouldn't have to break the bank or the wage structure for him.
Yeah.
Mario Da Silva says, but it seems like players like Donny and Bruno join the team because they like the project. Are they being duped by the board the same way Ollie is?
I don't think Ollie's been duped by the board. If someone comes in, whoever's the owner of Manchester United, and says, "Do you want to manage Manchester United?" Anyone
I think
takes
someone
it.
like Bruno. I mean, he was linked with a few clubs, wasn't he, in the summer before we got him. I think he's linked with Spurs, even the Scousers, and obviously United. And I think there was always that feeling that he wanted to come to United and we could get him. But I don't know if he's been duped. I don't know what the conversation was around the project or anything like that. I think going from a team like Sporting and coming to a club like Manchester United is always going to be appealing. It's going to be one of those where you think, and I think in terms of Donny van der Beek, he's probably had a conversation with the manager. Well, we know he's had a conversation with the manager about coming here. Van der Sar's probably had a word with him saying, you're going to Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Are they being duped by the owners? I'm not sure. I mean, I get where you're coming from when you're saying he's only being duped, because we've had a lot of reports that he was promised 3 signings this summer. We've got 1, and it looks like we could end up with just 1.
And it is,
if we're not careful.
For as much people want to say it, it is quite an exciting project to come into. You've got the likes of Rashford, a very young player. You've got Martial, a young player that's come in there. You've got Mason Greenwood as your front 3.
Yeah.
You've got players like Pogba still there. Bruno's come into that. And for Donny van der Beek to come in, that's not being duped. They are 5 fantastic footballers that I'm going to get to play alongside every week. Who, if things go right and contracts go right, that could be a team for 5 to 10 years. That could happen, and they could stick around for a long time. I don't think it's being duped. I think that the Sancho, the stuff about transfers, I think that's like I said, maybe it's Ollie more than that, saying just being let down more than anything.
It's frustrating. Can we put another tweet out as well, please, my friend? Oliver Price in the super chat says, Axel is the answer for centre-back, pace, passing, quality. I like Axel Tuanzebe. He had a bit of a nightmare season last season, didn't he, with injuries. He just couldn't get going. And everyone thought after the season he had at Aston Villa, the previous campaign where he was fantastic and a big part of them, coming up, we're going to see him in a United shirt week in, week out, perhaps. Maybe people thinking that he was going to be the success, or not the success, he was going to keep Lindelof out of the side. It was going to be him and Maguire. But injuries just ravaged this season. I'd love to see him back in a United shirt. I still haven't given up hope on him, but it's going to be difficult.
And Ted and Mengi will be pushing him as well. He got promoted today up to the first team. Loads of people twisted that into we've not signed a centre half, so we've had to go into the youth to pick someone out. Ted and Mengi is head and shoulders above anyone that he plays up against at that kind of level. He's ridiculously good. So exciting to see where he kind of fits in.
There's that thing, and I was talking to Dave Pritt the other day, and he was saying about the under-23s and that level, and you're not. Sometimes you need more than that, and I think Ted and Mengi needs to be in around the first team. Yeah. Yes, he's probably, in my opinion, he's a fantastic player. Probably a bit too young to be starting centre back. I think that's a bit, it's a pretty obvious thing. But coming into the team slowly, I think it was we had Edgar and Kelly their show, and I think Emma was saying drip feeding him into the first team, which I get. I think that is probably what we'll see over the next season. And then maybe in a season or 2. It's
one of those, you play him in a couple of cup games, and if he has a few standout performances, then you try him in the Premier League and see how he gets on, and go from there. Like I said, he looked quality from what I saw from him last year. So, that's, again, we mentioned centre halves. We've been linked with a couple this summer. I think that's still in the back of Ollie's mind. I still think he's thinking, I'm happy with Maguire. Lindelof and Bailly are still maybes. I don't think they're bad centre halves. I don't think we are costing ourselves too much in having them in the team, and I still think there is the possibility of gambling on a Tuanzebe or Mengi this season, and it's a good, that group of centre halves I think is a good lot of centre halves to have for next season.
100%, definitely. And I think the thing was, when we were linked with Nathan Ake, he was sort of saying, I've got loads of centre backs, I'm not, and I know I sort of get where he was coming from. I thought he might actually been telling the truth.
I agree. I mean, you can look at it and go, do you know what? Is he £40 million better than actual Twanzebe? I don't think he is. I don't think he's £40 million better than Megan is. So you're better doing that. It's different when you look at, Jadon Sancho, because we literally don't have a right winger.
No.
And to add that, a world-class player into a position that we're really struggling for, Greenwood's done a good job, but it's not where I think he should be playing week in, week out, then you need to spend the money. But I think that in regards to centre-half, I think that let's see how them lads get on this season.
I mean, going back to that, you say we need a right winger. Ismail Assar couldn't come in. Dan James, I mean, the jury's still out, and that's being generous. I think a lot of people think he's not up to it. I've not given up on him yet, but I think he's probably more of a squad player rather than someone who's going to be trouble in the first team. Yeah. You brought in someone like Zar, that would give you that option. But as we know, has been reported tonight, he is linked with Liverpool. There's a bit of a sort of debate going on about how much money Liverpool got to spend. They obviously got Thiago.
Yeah.
The talk of Wijnaldum got to Barcelona, that's going to free up some funds. The talk of, I saw some ridiculous tweets earlier about how Ryan Brewster, who's left or leaving, he walked so we could run. His sale funded the signing of Thiago. Someone had tweeted, and I just think I'm not even going to get involved.
I've played golf with a Liverpool fan at the weekend who said, we've got this lad Ryan Brewster how's he going to get in the team? He's a quality player. I said, well, he's not that good.
These are the sort of people, right, when he does a decent pass in the Carabao Cup first round, you tweet, tell Mason Greenwood to step outside, and you're like, what are you on about? No, he's not even in the slightest class of Mason Greenwood, and I can't wait to see Mason Greenwood this season, actually. But like you say, he's not a right winger, he's just a talented kid who's being played on the right wing, because that's probably the best place for put him when you've got Anthony Martial down the middle and
absolutely
Marcus Rashford on the left. But we do need a right winger. We need that option as well to be able to rotate. Someone saying bring back the beer, Jay. It took me all lockdown to do that, mate. It was a lockdown beer, so I'm not doing it again. Lots of people in the comments talking about left backs, and on that subject, Alex Telles. There was reports from Portugal, a site called A Bowler, I think I'm getting that right, that the 27-year-old Brazilian left back has had the doors of his Manchester United, he's sort of quoted here, wide open after Reguilon went to Tottenham. So basically, Reguilon to Tottenham frees up Telles to United. That was we translated that verbatim, which is why it might look a little bit odd when you read it. But it's basically saying that Telles is still an option for Manchester United, and it could be happening. Yeah. We heard that his agent was saying he expected a bid. I think it was Casey this morning who had it in the paper talk, saying that Telles' agent has been saying, I'm expecting an offer from Manchester United any day now. Is that moving this team and this club forward, the signing of Alex Telles for around 25 million quid or 20 million quid, around that mark? I
kind of wrote it off last week because I thought the Reguilon deal was on, and it looked like, I said a better age, he's playing at a higher standard, playing in La Liga every week. Obviously the stuff with the buyback clause has meant that United haven't gone with that one. I think left back's a bit of a strange one. I think we kind of argued over whether Shaw and Brandon were going to be good enough for this season. Again, jury's still out on Luke Shaw. He seems to be hot and cold. He doesn't seem to be. Don't think there's enough going forward for him. And we mentioned the same thing about Wan-Bissaka, but Wan-Bissaka, you can clearly see how good he is defensively. Luke Shaw's not that kind of player. He's not excelling going forward. He's not excelling at the back. So big questions on that. And I think that with the way we play, I think having someone that wants to go down that left-hand side, a left-footed player, would be fantastic in Alex Telles. And, he had a ridiculous goal. I think he scored 17 goals last season for Porto.
13, I think.
13 goals
which
last season.
For a left-back is ridiculous. I mean, someone said, he's a dead ball specialist, but even so, I mean, how many of them
so what?
free kicks? Do you know what I mean? It's like that is unreal sort of levels. So I
think he improves us, definitely.
I still think Ollie fancies Luke Shaw, mate. I still think
I think there's something.
I think he does, and I think he likes the fact that Brandon Williams has thrown his hat into the ring as well. So I don't know. I think that was the thing. Yes, we would have probably had Reguilon if Real Madrid had relented, but I think with Reguilon, he's like you say, he's La Liga left back of the season. Knocks us out of the Champions League, I wish, Europa League last season, and you saw that, and you know a lot about him. You think he's available as a great young player, and then it wasn't for that buyback clause, which is kind of I'm not going to defend the owners because they're a disgrace.
And again, I
understand not wanting to get involved with a buyback clause.
Again, this is the whole thing. It seems like we've missed out on 3 signings this week, which we've not. I don't think we were really in for Thiago.
No.
We weren't really in for Bale, but then the fact that the Reguilon, Bale and Thiago seem to be announced in the last couple of days, that's kind of been the kick in the teeth of United. But at the same time, you've got an argument for all of them saying, Bale would have cost a lot of money in wages. Thiago the same, and Reguilon with his buyback. You can understand why Manchester United wouldn't want to get into those contracts. But if you've only signed one player, that's where the frustration comes in, where you kind of go, we have to do something. You can't be dead picky over players if you're not signing anybody.
Someone keeps saying in the comments there, they think they're spamming us a little bit about we ain't signing anyone, just Josh King. There you go, I've read it now.
Take it, let's have it.
You can stop
Get him
spamming
in.
us. Yeah.
Let's get him in.
Josh King, I mean, we almost signed him instead of Odi Nagalo, didn't we? Because I think Ollie got some sort of relationship with Josh King's agent. He knows him.
Yeah.
I know he's Norwegian as well, which helps. And I think that
he managed him in the reserve team.
So he knows him, knows the agent. Josh King.
He knew what, again, that's the thing. He knew what he was getting.
No. Right,
but I don't think
telling you now.
Josh
Josh King comes here instead of Jadon Sancho, and I don't mind Josh King. I've interviewed Josh King; he's a nice guy.
Yeah, let's not.
But you know,
let's not.
I wouldn't want him at United again. I think he left for a reason, and okay, you can say United's no longer the club it was when he left, and he's improved since he left. But what's Josh King going to give you? You're going to suffer greatly. The thing with Odi Nagalo is I love Odi Nagalo, fantastic personality around the club. Absolutely mad about United, reinvigorated everyone. When he came, at first I was cynical, won us all over with his personality and the fact that he was a useful player in the cups.
Goals.
Great goal against Last, for example, even though Paulin said he wouldn't have done that if there was fans in the crowd, which made no sense to me. Great personality, great fan of the club, but as I often say, this isn't Make-A-Wish, you know what I mean? We can't just give people a chance because they're big United fans. Did well, but we saw it last season in the FA Cup semi-final, for example. When you have to rely on Odi Nagalo against the big teams, you're probably suffering a little bit. Yeah. And he's not, swapping Mason Greenwood for Jadon Sancho is almost like for like in terms of quality. Yeah. The level of the team doesn't decrease much, if anything. You swap Anthony Martial for Odi Nagalo, and you feel it, you see it. It's not the same. Or you bring off Marcus and put Odi in and move Martial to left. The team suffers. And that's the thing with Josh King. If you bring in Josh King, I think you're sort of talking at Dan James levels. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think you're getting at someone who.
I think
you don't feel it when you sub. If you took off Mason or rest Mason, and you're going to play Josh King instead, or say Anthony Martial's injured and it's Josh King who comes in, is that the similar sort of levels? Are you going to be at the same strength? No, you're going to suffer greatly there.
I think
it's an.
If he'd have come in as the 6-month loan kind of thing, or what they were trying to do last in January, just to kind of fill a gap, with Marcus being injured and all that kind of stuff, and I could have understood it then, and I understood the Igalo one, but no, ship's sailed now. If we're going to sign another centre forward, it needs to be a top quality player.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I think it would be a massive kick in the teeth if we end up with Josh King. No disrespect to him, but as we've discussed there, I don't think that's the sort of the player that we should go for. We mentioned, he's just the one here. Tyrone Mings is decent, not a bad shout. Is he available? How much would you have to pay to get Tyrone Mings? I don't think that's.
I don't think he doesn't improve the. I don't think he's that much better than what we've got, which I think is the point with centre halves now. We don't need someone that's not that much better.
That's a nice comment from Matthew Fries. James seems like the nicest guy. I wish I could help him find more strength out of his meat bag he calls a body. What a lovely sentiment that.
It kind of went that way.
So I'm glad I read that out.
That way, didn't it?
You know what? I'm not just going. I'll read out the compliments because there's so few and far between that I'm always happy to get them. Josh King could get hammered by some fans if he's our only signing. I don't think
absolutely, yeah.
You mean you might get on Twitter and things like that, people going berserk, but I think when he came into the stadium and when he was playing, if there's fans in the stadium, we'd get behind him. I think we always did. Someone's saying Josh King's changed his agent in the last few weeks, so I don't know if that.
Come in, then it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. Forget everything we've just said for the last 3.5 minutes. Another story doing the rounds was Daniel Taylor about Thiago. Daniel Taylor, I like Daniel Taylor. He's a reliable journalist. He does some good stuff. He does a lot of sort of long pieces and stuff. I liked him when he was at The Guardian. He does stuff for The Athletic. And he was talking about Thiago Alcantara, who we know has gone to Scousers. I don't want to go on about this too long because, we're not here to talk about Liverpool players because, we're not a Liverpool channel and who wants to do that anyway. No. But he was saying that Alex Ferguson's leaving present for David Moyes in 2013 was after years of scouting, everything agreed. Thiago was going to come. Then Moyes called it off because he didn't feel he knew enough about the player, which it's kind of frustrating. Even forgetting it now, forget the transfer to Liverpool now. 2013, Thiago Alcantara comes to United, would have made a big difference, didn't it? Listen, I know we got Marouane Fellaini in that summer. I don't mind Marouane Fellaini. I think he gets a bit of a raw deal.
I know,
but it's not the same as Thiago Alcantara, even the most avid.
Especially in 2013 as
well.
No, when he was,
they're not even the same sort of positional player or anything. You know, Fellaini came in and he was basically number 10 that we moved into midfield. Thiago Alcantara, different type of player, sort of CDM and one who can help dictate the game a little bit. I mean, that's just when I saw that, the reason I mentioned it, it's just frustrating it because it just feels like an opportunity missed unnecessarily.
I think there was a lot of things that Moyes did where I think Fergie kind of said, look, and maybe this was a little bit of, we know what this ownership's going to be like. You need to follow this, do this, and this is how you're going to get the best out of this team. And I think Moyes definitely came in, got rid of the coaching staff, brought in his own coaching staff.
Jimmy Lumsden and Steve Round.
Yeah, and got rid of Mick Phelan and Rennie Mullenstein.
Tell you what, Jimmy Lumsden and Steve Round make Stephen Allison look like Matt Busby. Hey.
Anyway, so Moyes did all that, and it sounds with things like coming out like that, you kind of go, he's done the same thing with transfers as well, where, Fergie's probably gone, look, this was my plan for if I was staying next year, just do that.
Yeah.
These are the players you need to bring in. He's going to come in because Scholes is going. He's going to come in. He's going to come in. Zaha's going to do, sign a couple of players, go from there. And he's not done it. He didn't do it at all.
There was things, because there was something in Fergie's book. I read one of his books. Guys, as well, don't forget to hit like, keep hitting like, get involved in the comments. I will try and get through your comments for the last 10 minutes of the show. We'll start reading them out. Where Fergie said something along the lines of, about Thiago, that he was on a similar level to Tom Cleverley. So, I don't know, I don't know, people were saying as well that Giggs, apparently Moyes asked Giggs about him and Giggs didn't rate him that highly. I don't know, it's conflicting reports, but it sounds like if you've got a player that's earmarked there and you're out at Manchester United, you get him.
There was the only thing that was there was that Barcelona at the time were, I don't think they won it in 2013, but they definitely were, I think they were still competing at a very high level then.
Yeah.
And
what, you're talking about the Champions League?
In regards to Champions League. And Thiago wasn't getting into that team. And there is always the argument that when you buy players from Barcelona and things like that, you aren't buying someone. They don't get rid of players they didn't need, kind of thing. Yeah. And he ended up going to Bayern. You kind of saw that as, well, Guardiola's there. Guardiola knew him, and that kind of makes sense. Yeah. But he has kicked on from there and seemed to be he's one of the top midfielders in the world, which is horrible to say considering where he's going tomorrow.
It's the thing is, right. Talk about Thiago, we can talk about Sergio Reguilon, we can talk about Gareth Bale, so we're blue in the face, but none of this matters, right? Nope. Because 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I'll be honest with you, and I don't speak for any fan other than myself, I wasn't sat there thinking we need to get Sergio Reguilon. I wasn't sat here going, why haven't we bought Gareth Bale? Baggers.
Why haven't we got Thiago Alcantara?
Yeah. Why has not got Thiago Alcantara? Do you know what I mean? I might have been saying that in 2013, but I certainly wasn't saying it a month ago. But one thing I was saying is, why are we not getting Jadon Sancho? That's the one we need to get. Yeah. And I think that, okay, if you get Van der Beek and Jadon Sancho, it's probably not enough. We need at least 3 signings. But let's be frank, and this isn't a criticism of United fans, we probably know it, that you feel a lot better if you get Jadon Sancho. And for a lot of United fans, not all of them, that'll be like, okay, we've got the £120 million man. We've got the guy that you say, lads, rightly so, comes into this team straight away and everyone's like, wow, that's a strike force out now. Can swap, can do that thing that other players can't do, where if you take out, say you took out Martial and you put in Sancho, you don't suffer too much.
We've linked this back to Mourinho's last 6 months kind of thing, where, he clearly wanted Harry Maguire. That was who he wanted. He wanted a centre-half. He needed that centre-half. And he was like, if I don't get a centre-half in, it's all going to go wrong this year. And Ollie's gone about this in a different way. He hasn't come out and said, I need this player, I need this player, I need this player. But at the same time, if at the end of that summer we'd have just bought Harry Maguire, I think the team would have been lifted straight away. And I think we might have gone into that season with a little bit more confidence. And I think Mourinho was always kind of on the way down, but at the same time, I think we would have started a little bit better, and we maybe would have kicked on a bit more. And the same with this season. If we end up getting Jadon Sancho, yes, it's too long, and yes, it's taken too long to sort all this out, and yes, we may miss the first 2 games, but I think that it would lift the team completely. I think the whole fan base would be lifted. That, do you know what? Yes, it's taken too long, but we've got it done, and. We've got. I think I've said it a few times. I'm confident in the 11 that we have that can compete. Yeah. But I think that we need a squad.
The thing is, we saw it in last season. We've got 13. players, aren't we, really, that Ollie really feels comfortable with. And we kept using those same 13. Like, so you need more than that. You need 15 or 16.
You've got an extra one in.
Players that you can really... Yeah, you got Van der Beek in, but that's not enough. I mean, all right, you can argue maybe if Axel's fit, you can bring him back in. You know, we talked about Tenen Mengi. Again, though, you're not going to throw Tenen Mengi in if you've got, injury crisis. It's a bit harsh to sort of say.
Blackmore, Dele Alli.
Dele Alli and Josh King, only signings United made before the end of the window. Do we buy Dele Alli?
No.
Did the Spurs sell him, and do we want him?
I saw something about him potentially going to Madrid. That was one of the
what?
things. Yeah.
To play football?
Or holiday? Just for holiday. No, just.
What?
No, Dele Alli to Madrid.
I mean, it's 2020. Anything goes this year. Do you know what I mean? You can probably see Mill. You playing for Madrid the way this
Dele Alli to Madrid.
You
heard it here first.
Yeah, listen.
Or second.
If that happens, I want this clipped up and I want timestamped. Someone's saying Dele's got to play golf. Guys, get involved in the comments. Don't forget to hit like as well.
You've got left out of today's squad. He's going. Paris Saint-Germain or Madrid.
That is a massive leap, that, isn't it, to say that he got left out of today's squad. He's going to Madrid. There's some sort of... And I don't know about that as a swap deal. I don't know. Is that what we're thinking?
People saying I would buy Dele Alli, no question.
Do you know what? It annoys me that we didn't get him when he was at MK Dons, because he played in that season, didn't he? That beat us 4-0.
Yeah.
And he was an 18-year-old, and then Spurs went and got him for £1 million, and you think, oh, why didn't we do that? And I don't know, it's just frustrating. Someone's saying Dele Alli is very good. I'm not knocking him. He's not a bad footballer, and he scores a lot of goals. But I don't know. He's Real Madrid's level. Come on, you think they need to improve a lot.
Yeah.
And I can understand they're getting rid of certain players, but bringing in Dele Alli, I don't really think that. Someone's saying Sneijder to United. Do you know what? This is how it feels, doesn't it? With the Bale rumours and the Thiago Alcantara. I'm just waiting for the Sneijder ones. Yeah. It does feel like
Gaetan.
Zaha is as an alternative.
No.
We spoke about this. I actually liked Wilfried Zaha when he was at United. I didn't see a lot of him playing football for Manchester United. I think he played in the League Cup against Norwich and everything. That was about it. I think he played about 12 minutes in the Premier League. Felt sorry for him. It was the way he was treated. A couple of years ago, I would have had him. He certainly did well the other week. I was watching him against Southampton, but I don't think he's coming to United.
No, I said last week he's good enough. I like him, but I don't think he scores enough goals.
Colin K999, sorry, Jay. Let's get Danny Welbeck back. I'm all about that. Sorry, go on.
I said last week, Danny Welbeck. Oh, not Danny Welbeck.
Danny Welbeck, yeah.
Wilfried Zaha.
Great shout.
Wilfried Zaha, good player, but I don't think he scores enough goals. What does he do? First game of the season, scores for Crystal Palace. So
mate, I had to do a thing a few years ago, and I had to pick a player to do a fantasy thing for his podcast, and it was pick a player that you think this weekend's going to do really well. Pick a player to avoid this week, and I picked Andros Townsend because Crystal Palace were playing City away.
Is he when they scored that free screamer?
And I had him as the one to avoid. Whatever you do, don't put Andros Townsend in your team, fantasy team. It costs a lot of money. He's not going to get a sniff of the ball. He won't touch it. And he scored an absolute world. It was voted goal of the season. And I think that was the last time I did any sort of predictions for fantasy football. Otherwise, we did our fantasy draft thing the other day, didn't we? I didn't even check on mine. I know that I think I ended up with Lacazette.
And he scored?
He scored, but I don't think, other than that, I don't think there was too much to shout about.
I didn't do that.
How are we doing on our Facebook poll? Can we have a look at whether...
Let's go back to...
Whether Jadon Sancho's coming this summer, according to the people on Facebook. Also, a lot of people saying about Adama Traore. I like Traore, and he causes us no end of dramas whenever we play him. And, he's that sort of player that if you bring him off the bench, it's wow, now you've got the left back's oh, God, do me a favour. But Wolves are a difficult club to buy players from. They've got a billionaire owner. They've got, them and George Mendes are like that. They're not a selling club. They're a massive club not a massive club. They're a massively wealthy club who've got this project that they're into. And I just don't know. I think if you're going to get him, you've got to go big.
It's got further away.
Yeah, it's got further away. Do you think United will sign Jadon Sancho this window? Yes is at 31% with 257 people voting. No is at 69% with 567 people. I think that's probably indicative of where the chances lie.
I think it's close to 50-50. I think it's close to 50-50.
Do you reckon? I think it's it feels like about...
Because I still think United...
a 1 in 3-ish chance of us getting him.
I still think United could just go, let's just fucking pay it. Let's just do it. The Traore one is weird for me. I'm still...
A lot of people talking about...
I'd like to see him.
I'd
like to see him at United.
Can we get him?
Absolutely. Yeah. But again, I think it's the same way we talked about Leicester before. If we go in and bid for him, it's going to be 50, 60 million quid. And that's the... You mentioned Sarr from Watford, how he wouldn't impact on us getting Sancho next season, wouldn't impact on, in terms of wages and stuff. I think Traore is kind of at the point in his career where he's going up from Wolves probably on a decent wage there. Cost us 60 million quid. He'd probably go above Bruno in the wage bracket, I think, coming from a Premier League club. So probably 100 grand, 120 grand a week kind of player. And I'm just like, is that it? That would be it for our wingers. And maybe you'd have to sell someone in order to get in a Jadon Sancho next year. So I don't know. It's a strange one.
I know what you mean.
It seems more of a short-term thing. And I think we do need to go away from that. But at the same time, if we've said we're not going to spend this money on Sancho, then yeah, he's a good alternative. He's not as good, but then maybe you spend big on a centre forward next summer. Maybe that's when you go. That's where you kind of invest that money that we haven't spent on Jadon Sancho, and put a bit more money behind a centre forward or a midfielder for next summer.
No, I get where you're coming from. We need to see some investment this summer because Donny van der Beek, even though he's a quality player, and I'm very excited at the prospects of seeing him, especially Saturday coming up against Crystal Palace. We need more than him, and if it isn't going to be Jadon Sancho, then it needs to be somebody. Guys, this has been Transfers Live. Loads of good comments. Sorry we've not had time to read them out. I will say this, we've had a lot of people slagging off the Glazers and Ed Woodward, and I'm all about that. I get it. The owners are just taking the mick out of us, and it's not good enough. Ed Woodward needs to do what he'd said when he talks about we can do things in the transfer window that others can only dream of. I don't think that was, no disrespect to those people, but it wasn't about just signing the likes of Odi Nagalo and people like that. You want to see the big signings coming in, and so far, £40 million in a summer where you've just got back into the Champions League ain't good enough. It's not, and we need to challenge. We've seen Chelsea challenge spending big. We know how far we finished behind the Scousers as well, and City going big again, and also finishing 5 above us. We need to see some investment. Hopefully, that will be Jadon Sancho. Baggers, what have you got planned for us? Are you on the channel tomorrow? Are you here?
I'm doing a preview for football because we've got United. We're not just signing people, we are actually playing football on Saturday.
Playing some United. Out there. Football United.
Playing Crystal Palace against Zaha, who doesn't score any goals.
Yes, definitely. Sancho Towns is still there as well.
I think he might be.
Hey, do you know what I mean?
That's not good.
I'm actually off tomorrow.
You are?
But you can check me out on Scotty and Marty. I've just put a link in the description.
Oh, there you go. All right.
In the chat, sorry.
There you go. Have a look at that.
Me and Scotty talk about everything that's not football related.
Yeah.
But as always, on the game this Saturday, we will have the watch along. Also on Friday, tomorrow night, we'll have Joe's Late Night Live. Thanks to everyone who's been watching on Facebook for getting involved in the poll. You don't think by majority that Jadon Sancho is coming. Let's see if you're right. Hopefully you're wrong and he is coming. We'll wait and see. But if he does come, or when he comes, we'll be giving that updates. We'll have all the latest transfer news as well. That's been Alex Baggers. I've been Jay. This has been Stretford Paddock Transfers Live. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.